Ahoy there, my name's Beth and this is the story of how I renovated my 1904 Dutch sailing barge. This week, electrics. So just a quick message before we start today's episode. I'm not a professional electrician, but I have sought professional advice. And if you're doing any electrical work at all and you're not a professional, please do the same and seek the advice from a professional. So the weather today is a little bit moody. It's a little bit kind of damp, big clouds, but it's still quite warm. It's quite muggy still. But as we're in autumn, the weather is a bit more unpredictable. So we're going to start to do stuff inside or down below. So I've got this huge big roll of 2.5mm 3-core Arctic blue cable, and this is going to be the cable that runs around the boat for all of the sockets, the 240 volt supply for the sockets. So I'm going to put this down. It's really heavy, and I'll tell you all about it. So before we get going, I'm going to have a brew, of course. But it means that I can tell you a little bit about the plans for the electrics for the boat. So you remember in previous videos we fitted the wiring loom. Now that's not totally fitted yet because there is the piece of the wiring loom that goes in the top of the roof, and that's called a headlining sections. So there's two sections there. There is under the gunnel section, so a hull section, and the port side has been done, or I've done the port side I should say, but we need to also put the starboard side in, and that's carrying heavier cables, and that's to deal with the slightly heavier equipment on that side of the boat. So there are three gulper pumps, and they are the pumps that will drain the water from the sink, from the shower tray, or at least the bath. So two sinks, vanity unit and the kitchen. Okay, let's move on to the sockets. So the sockets are a different set of cables to the 24 volt system, and we're going to cable those in, and then we're going to make droppers. So the cable is going to go under the gunnels, then it's going to drop down to roughly where the socket's going to be, and on a loop, and then back up again. And on each of those loops I can put a socket later on. So I've talked to you a lot now, and I think it's probably time that we get on with a bit of work. Cup of tea first though. Oh, that was a hot job. Sweating. It's cutting upwards and being in underneath the gunnels is quite tough work, but yeah, I've kind of taken off all of the foam on the battens, and actually I found a couple of spaces where the foam is missing and needs to be injected a bit more into it, so that's good. So I'm going to start to roll on the cable around the boat, but first I need to check the plans. Actually, I forgot, we need to fit the starboard loom, so we'll do that first. So we've got the starboard side hull loom fitted now, so that's the entire, all of the parts of the wiring loom fitted, the 24-volt system at least. So as you can see, this came from the headliner, so this is the starboard nav light, and that will go through the hole to the nav light outside. These ones are reading lights, so there'll be a little reading light here and a reading light here. And then if you follow me through into the galley, previously the headliner has put all the galley lights in. The galley light switch will be down here and dropper down here. And here is the hull loom fitted here. So this is the sink pump switch. So when I'm at the sink, which will be actually in this roughly the same position as my temporary sink, I'll be able to press the switch or flick the switch, and that will empty the pump. The wiring loom goes all the way underneath, and I'll walk around this way. And then again, well, there's a couple of droppers down here for the pumps and also the cooker starter. So the cooker is going to be a gas cooker, but it needs an electric starter. So that's going to be on the 24-volt system. And it means that I can light it when I'm off, when I don't have any 240 volt or, yeah, anyway. So this is, again, another sink pump switch. So I can press the switch here and that will drain that sink. There is the sink pump actual connection itself. And then all the way back here, there is the shower pump as well. So the shower or the bath will have a gulper pump, so I'll be able to switch it on here. I did think actually what I might do, I did plan it to be here, but the shower is going to be sort of here, a bit further away. So I wonder whether it's just a bit of a stretch if you want to turn it on or off if you're in the shower, but we'll see. I can always put an extension on that, so I'll put a switch there and another switch on, so that's okay. And down here you can see the large cables. That's for the macerator toilet, so they're big beefy ones, and again a pump connection itself, so that will be going to the shower pump. So the next thing I need to do is to put the 240 volt cable in. But I think that's me done for today. I'm really hot. It's quite muggy today again. So we're starting to do the jobs that we want to do indoors or down below. But the weather hasn't kind of turned too much, but it's kind of on the turn. So it's kind of naturally the project will move down below for a little while. But yeah, it's still quite hot. So yeah, I'm going to go and walk Bertie. I'm going to have a beer and then have a good night's sleep. See you tomorrow for some 240 volt cables. Morning. So yeah, it's another day and I'm going to do the 240 volt wiring. I slept so terribly last night. I must have had a couple of hours sleep in bits all the way through the night. It's actually quite rainy. It's been torrential rain this morning and quite windy. So as soon as it started raining this morning, it was about 7 o'clock or something, it just started pouring with rain. As soon as that happened, I fell straight asleep with the sound of the rain on the roof. But otherwise, the rest of the night I have hardly slept. But it doesn't stop me doing wiring, so we're going to crack on with that. So what I need to do is I need to check the plans, and this is what the boat plan looks like. There are a few different sockets all the way around the boat, and this shows also the lighting switches and everything. So the lighting switches and the lighting itself and all the pumps and everything, of course, is the 24 volt. But you can see on the diagram there's lots of red sockets, and that's where the sockets are going to be, or red squares, and that's where the sockets are going to be. So we're going to run the cabling in for that. So I'm going to do the big loop today, and that will form the start of the ring for all of the domestic sockets. So yeah, let's get on with that. This one's a little bit longer because it's going to drop down all the way down the side, and actually I need enough space to take it a bit further forward to a socket on the edge of the dinette. So it's a little bit longer. It might actually be a little bit too short, but I don't really know where it's going to go to the dinette, so it might be okay. I'm going to put a socket in the footwell of the dinette, so it's probably going to be sort of, about here or something, so that should be okay. And it's really just a little extra socket for if you wanted to work at the dinette and plug your computer in, it's just going to be there. So anyway, yeah, let's carry on. next socket on the plan is just at the end of the companionway, just before we get into the master cabin, and I've put a socket at each end of that. They're not very far away. They're only sort of 15 feet away or something. Yeah, so I've got a socket at each end of the companionway to plug in Hoover or whatever. So like all jobs, I've nearly finished, but not quite. Sadly, I've run out of cable. I bought a 50-meter drum to go around the boat, and I've run out. So I'm going to have to get a bit more cable. But the loop, the ring, is all one continuous piece of cable. But on these end sections anyway, these bits, I will cut and then wire both sides into each socket. So it is a continuous loop, but actually I can join pieces of cable, because if I show you over here, this is the last double loop, and then this one is just a single piece of cable, and it needs to continue going down the boat. So next up, I'll fit a piece of cable into there that's the same length as that, and then keep running it back down the boat. So yeah, so I'll need to get a bit more cable, and I also need to get a bit more cable to do the runs into the kitchen for the tumble dryer and for the kitchen sockets. So the eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that the cabling has changed. So if I point you up this direction, now underneath the gunnels, the first rail, if you like, is the 240. The next rail along is going to be the 5G antenna cables. The next one is the 24 volt, and then the outer one is going to be the VHF. So I've swapped these around. This originally was on the inside, but I've moved this outside. And the reason being is I can get maximum distance between the VHF and the 240 volt. It's going to be in shielded cable anyway, but still, I'll separate those as much as I can. Also, I've got the maximum distance I can between the 240 volt supply and the 24 volt supply in conduit. So it's over 10 centimeters, so that's fine. And then I'll have my 5G digital antenna in the on the second rail, which will be absolutely fine between those two. So the next thing I need to do is to get some more cable to wire those in, but sadly that's going to have to be it for this week. So yeah, so this week was a lot of electrics. Remember, I'm not an expert, and before you do anything, definitely take advice from a professional. I've taken advice from professionals, and I will get all of this wiring checked. And it's going through the boat safety certificate anyway, so it'll all be checked. But yeah, so I would like to thank you all for watching, and thanks for being on this journey with me, and thanks also to somebody who bought me a coffee this week. It's really generous of you, but the way that it came through, I don't know what your name is. So if you want to drop me a message, and I'll say thank you. But you know who you are, and thanks so much. So our little fund for paying for the flagstaff and the ensign for the stern of the boat is increasing. So I'll be really pleased with that. I'll be really proud to buy those that flagstaff and ensign. And so, as I say, whenever you see it, you know that's a bit of the boat that you helped me with. But it's just really great to be able to bring you these videos, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.